Hello, Patrick Walchuk here. We're going to do a financial analysis on a 4-unit building that sold in Ottawa in the month of July, as we usually do. We'll interpret what the numbers mean for you. And if you enjoy getting these types of videos, hit the subscription button, notification bell, and we'll get them sent out to you every 30 days. So let's get right into it. And as I said, this is a fourplex, and it was located in the central part of the city. It's an older building, and it was listed for $989,000. It sold for $950,000. Now the scheduled rental income on it, the SRI, was $87,000. When we deduct for vacancy and bad debt, that brings us down to about $84,000. The stated operating expenses on the building were, call it $27,000. I'll round some of this off for you. So when we add in maintenance and management, as bank appraisal methodology does, at 5% and another 5%, that brings our total operating expenses up to $35,000. And so because we know that, we can calculate the net operating income on the building, which is $49,000. So what does that mean? Well, it's got a fairly high cap rate on it of 5.2%. We're seeing less and less of that kind of thing, and we'll only see that kind of thing, what I'm experiencing, is if a building has some problems. There's a risk to it. So your cap should be higher, and that basically means you're making a higher ROI to compensate for that risk. So the operating expense ratio on it was 41.6%. That's higher than I like to see. 30% would be great. So the operating expenses are pretty high in this building. Now, what we calculate here is, I'm just trying to look at how much of a down payment is required in order for this to have a positive cash flow. Because if you don't have a positive cash flow, a bank won't lend you mortgage money on the property. So what we're seeing more of is that it's about 35–38%. A number of years ago, it used to be 50%. You couldn't touch a multi-unit building, especially a fourplex, without a 50% down payment. Otherwise, if you had like a 40–45, you'd lose money and you couldn't get mortgage funds. So anyhow, you could buy this building with a 23% down payment. So I'm kind of seeing a story happening here. Very, very high cap rate. So, okay, there's a bit of a risk there. Operating expense ratio, that's very high. And it sold for a very low down payment. So that equated to, call it $219,000. And when you factor in how much a mortgage is going to cost you per year, that's called an ADS, or an annual debt service, fancy way of saying your monthly mortgage payments for a year. So your ADS is $49,000, and with that, we know that our break-even point is, and it's 23%, so that gives us a positive cash flow of $214,000. Now, I was in this building just to let you know why it sold for this. I'm not going to get into a lot of details about it, but my client had a bit of a concern about, let's say, the integrity of the foundation. And the other thing about the property is that it had no parking. Now, some people are okay with that because it's in the downtown core. However, when you have no parking, you have a more limited tenant pool when it comes time to replace a tenant. So anyhow, those two things I think are key factors in terms of why these numbers are the way they are. Thank you for watching this video. Bye-bye.